My tax return got rejected at 7:05 a.m., and I knew exactly who did it. The enter key on my laptop keyboard is sticky. It's been that way since my son, Leo, spilled apple juice on it 6 months ago, and I haven't had the spare $50 to get it fixed. It's a physical reminder of my life, messy, broken in small ways, and held together by sheer willpower. I usually have to press it twice, hard, to get it to register. But this morning, Monday, January 26th, at 7:05 a.m., I pressed it with the delicate hope of someone defusing a live bomb. I sat at my kitchen table, wrapped in a bathrobe that has seen better decades, shivering because I keep the thermostat at 62 to save on gas. The windows were frosted over, blocking out the gray morning light of a city that feels like it's actively trying to crush me. My breath was creating little ghosts of steam in the cold air of the apartment. On the screen, the TurboTax loading wheel spun. Green. Hypnotic. Promising. Transmitting return. I held my breath. I literally clasped my hands together, knuckles white, pressing them against my lips to stop them from trembling. I needed this. God, I needed this more than I have ever needed air. The refund estimator in the top right corner sat at a beautiful, life-saving number, $5,240. That wasn't vacation money. That wasn't new purse money. That was, pay off the credit card I used for the emergency root canal, money. It was, get Leo new winter boots that don't have duct tape on the toes, money. It was the child tax credit and the earned income credit, the two lifelines that the government throws to single mothers who work 45 hours a week as a receptionist and still have to choose between milk and meat at the grocery store. The wheel stopped spinning. The screen flashed. It wasn't the green checkmark of acceptance. It was a red box. An angry, jagged red box that looked like a stop sign. Rejected. Error code, R0000-507-01. Reason, the Social Security number for dependent 01, Leo Vance, has already been claimed on a tax return accepted by the IRS for the current tax year. I stared at the screen. The silence in the apartment was sudden and violent. The only sound was the refrigerator compressor kicking on with a dying rattle and the thumping of my own heart, which had just plummeted into my stomach and was currently dissolving in a pool of acid. Already claimed, I whispered. The words tasted like copper. There was only one other person on this planet who had Leo's Social Security number. One person who had the legal, biological link to type those 9 digits into a tax form. Derek. My ex-husband. The man who hasn't paid a dime of court-ordered child support in 3 years. The man who missed Leo's last 2 birthdays because he had a thing. The man who lives in a condo downtown with his 24-year-old girlfriend while I clip coupons in a drafty 2-bedroom walk-up. I looked at the clock. 7:08 a.m. The IRS e-file system opened at midnight. 12 a.m. He hadn't just claimed him. He had camped out. He had waited until the clock struck 12, like a predatory Cinderella, to steal the money that was supposed to feed his son. He knew I needed it. He knew I filed early every year because I live paycheck to paycheck. He did it to beat me to the punch. He did it because he knew that the IRS system is, first come, first served, when it comes to electronic filing, and sorting out the mess takes months. Months I didn't have. I felt the heat rising in my neck, a prickly, suffocating sensation that started at my collarbone and crawled up behind my ears. It wasn't just anger. It was panic. Pure, unadulterated survival panic. Without that $5,000, I was underwater. I was drowning. I reached for my phone. My thumb hovered over Derek's contact. I wanted to call him. I wanted to scream until my throat bled. I wanted to drive over to his condo and kick his door down and scream at him in front of his new neighbors. But then I remembered the last time we spoke. It was 3 months ago. Leo needed a cavity filled. It cost $300. You're pathetic, Sarah, Derek had sneered over the phone, the sound of a sports game playing in the background. You wanted full custody? You got it. Figure it out. I'm not an ATM. Maybe get a second job. I lowered the phone. If I called him, he would win. He would laugh. He would tell me that possession is 9/10 of the law and that the IRS had already accepted his return, so too bad, so sad. He would enjoy my desperation. He fed on it. It made him feel powerful to know that even though he wasn't in our lives, he could still ruin them with a few keystrokes. I looked back at the red screen. Dependent SSN already claimed. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. The air was cold, but my insides were burning. Okay, Derek, I whispered to the empty kitchen. You want to play with the federal government? Let's play. I didn't call him. I stood up and walked to the filing cabinet in the corner of the living room. It was an ugly metal thing I found at a yard sale, but inside it held the ammunition for the war I was about to start. I pulled out a thick, heavy folder labeled Legal Custody. I opened it. The divorce decree. The custody order. Primary physical custody, Sarah Miller. Visitation, none exercised. Child support arrears, $14,500. The IRS rules are very clear. To claim a child, the child must live with you for more than half the year. More than 6 months. This isn't a suggestion. It is the law. Derek hadn't seen Leo for 6 hours in 2025. He hadn't seen him since Christmas of 23, and even then, it was for 20 minutes to drop off a toy that Leo was too young to play with. He had lied on a federal tax return. He had committed perjury. He had stolen $5,000 from the Treasury Department under false pretenses. I walked back to the laptop. I didn't try to e-file again. You can't. Once a social security number is locked in the system, the electronic gates are closed. The robots at the IRS don't care about justice, they care about unique identifiers. I opened a new tab. I went to irs.gov. I searched for 2 specific forms. Forms that most people hope they never have to see, let alone use. Forms that are designed to weaponize the bureaucracy against fraud. Form 8862. Information to claim certain credits after disallowance. Form 3949A, Information Referral. AKA, the snitch form. I hit print. The printer groaned, spitting out the warm pages. It was the sound of artillery being loaded. I wasn't just going to fix my taxes. I was going to ruin his year. I was going to make him wish he had never learned my son's social security number. I sat down with a black pen. I pressed down hard, carving the letters into the paper. Name of person you are reporting, Derek J. Vance. Violation, false exemption/dependent. Comments, the individual claimed a dependent, Leo Vance, age 7, who did not reside with him for a single night during the tax year. I have sole physical custody. Attached are court records and school residency documents proving the child lives at my address 100% of the time. I paused. I thought about the last 5 years. Since the divorce, Derek always seemed to have money for new trucks, for trips to Vegas, for investments in crypto scams. But he never had money for Leo. He pleaded poverty in family court. He claimed he made minimum wage. If he was brazen enough to steal the credit this year, had he done it before? I had always filed fast. I always beat him. But what about the years we were separated but not divorced? What about the hidden income? I looked at the section on Form 3949A labeled Unreported Income. I remembered him bragging to his friends about his cash side hustles, consulting for local bars. Cash that never showed up on his child support income declarations. Cash he hid from the lawyers. I checked that box too. Check all that apply. False exemptions, unreported income, failure to pay tax. I was building a bomb. A paper bomb. And I was going to mail it directly to the Internal Revenue Service Processing Center in Austin, Texas. I spent the next 3 hours assembling the package. It looked like a dossier for a murder trial. I included the school records. Leo Vance, attendance record. Guardian, Sarah Miller. Address, my address. I included the pediatrician's records. I included the daycare invoices, all paid by me, all listing me as the sole contact. I included a notarized copy of the court order stating Derek had 0 overnights. Then, I filled out my own tax return on paper. Form 1040. I claimed Leo. I claimed the credit. When you paper file against a duplicate claim, the IRS protocol is simple, they process both. They see the conflict. And then they send letters to both parties saying, one of you is lying. Prove it. I had my proof ready in the envelope. Derek had nothing. He had lies and a lease for a 1-bedroom condo that didn't even have a bed for a child. I drove to the post office. I paid $8 for certified mail, return receipt requested. I wanted to know exactly when the hammer dropped. The clerk stamped it. Thump. Important stuff, he asked, eyeing the thick envelope. You have no idea, I said. It's a correction. Then, the waiting began. February passed. It was the hardest month of my life. I had to take a payday loan to cover the rent because the refund was delayed. Walking into that fluorescent-lit loan office, signing away my future paycheck at 300% interest, felt like failure. It felt like Derek had won. I sat in my car afterward and cried until my eyes were swollen shut. I imagined him spending my money while I went into debt. March passed. The snow melted, revealing the grime of the city. I kept checking the mail. On April 15th, tax day, I got a letter. It wasn't my refund. It was the standard IRS notice. We are reviewing your return due to a discrepancy. I knew this would happen. It takes time. The gears of bureaucracy grind slowly. But then, May arrived. It was a Tuesday evening. The air was finally warm. I was making mac and cheese for Leo, the cheap kind, generic brand. He was watching cartoons in the other room, oblivious to the fact that his mother was barely holding it together. My phone rang. I looked at the screen. Derek. He hadn't called me in 6 months. Usually, he just sent a text if he was going to be late on the support he wasn't paying anyway. I stared at the phone. My heart did a little flutter. Not of love, but of anticipation. The trap had sprung. I answered. I didn't say hello. I just listened. Sarah? His voice was tight. High-pitched. He sounded like he had just run a marathon. He sounded terrified. What do you want, Derek? I stirred the pasta, the wooden spoon scraping the metal pot. Did you file a paper return? He asked. Yes, I said. Since the e-file system rejected me because someone stole my dependent. You need to withdraw it, he said. He wasn't asking. He was demanding, but there was a tremor in his voice I had never heard before. You need to write a letter to the IRS saying you made a mistake and that I have the right to claim him this year. You need to tell them we had an agreement. Why would I do that, Derek? I asked, turning off the stove. You don't have the right. You don't pay support. You don't see him. And we have no agreement. You told me to figure it out, remember? Because I'm being audited, he screamed. The facade cracked completely. I got a letter today. They are freezing my refund. They are auditing my return. Oh, I said, letting a long bead of silence hang in the air. That sounds stressful. It's not just this year, Sarah. He was hyperventilating now. I could hear papers rustling in the background. Because of the conflict, they flagged my account. They are looking at the last 3 years. They sent me a notice for 2023 and 2024. They want proof of residency for Leo for those years too. They want school records. They want medical records. I smiled. A cold, sharp smile that reached my eyes. I remembered 2023. He had bullied me into letting him claim Leo that year, promising he would give me half the money to fix my car. He took the money, fixed his own truck, and told me he'd spent it on bills. I never saw a dime. Well, I said. Do you have proof? Did Leo live with you in 2023? You know he didn't. Derek yelled. But you said I could claim him. The IRS doesn't care about verbal agreements, Derek, I said calmly. The law says the custodial parent gets the credit. Form 8332. Did I sign a Form 8332 releasing the claim to you? Did I sign a waiver? Silence. No, I answered for him. I didn't. Sarah, please, he dropped his voice. He was begging now. The arrogance was gone. You don't understand. If they disqualify those credits, I owe them the money back. Plus penalties. Plus interest. They're talking about wage garnishment. They're talking about seizing my accounts. They're putting a lien on the condo. That sounds like a you problem, I said. I'll pay you, he said frantically. I'll give you the $5,000 for this year. I'll wire it right now. Just write the letter. Tell them it was a mix-up. Call them off. I can't call them off, Derek, I said, leaning against the counter. Once the audit machine starts, it doesn't stop until it eats. You committed fraud. You lied to the federal government. You did it to yourself. I'll go to jail, he shrieked. Is that what you want? You want Leo's father in jail? Leo's father? I laughed. It was a harsh sound. Leo's father is a guy who steals from his son to buy toys. Leo doesn't know you, Derek. To him, you're just a guy in a picture I keep in a drawer that he ignores. You aren't a father. You're a liability. You boich, he hissed. You vindictive, miserable. I'm hanging up now, I said. Good luck with the audit. I hear they're very thorough. Make sure you declare that cash from the bar consulting. They look for that sort of thing. Click. I blocked his number. I served Leo his mac and cheese. I sat down and watched him eat. He had ketchup on his face. He looked happy. He looked safe. 2 weeks later, I got my refund. A check for $5,240, plus $150 in interest because the IRS took too long. I paid off the payday loan immediately. I bought the winter boots, even though it was May, just so we'd have them for next year. But the real payout came in the form of gossip. Derek's sister, who still talks to me occasionally because she hates her brother, called me in June. Did you hear about Derek? She whispered. No, I lied. What happened? The IRS destroyed him, she said. They disallowed the child tax credit for the last 4 years. They found out he wasn't reporting the cash from the bars. They hit him with a bill for $22,000 in back taxes and fraud penalties. 22,000, I repeated. The number was music. He had to sell the truck, she continued. And the jet ski. And the condo. He moved back in with Mom. He's broke, Sarah. Completely broke. And now his wages are garnished for the next 10 years to pay it off. His girlfriend dumped him the second the money dried up. Wow, I said. That's terrible. He keeps saying you turned him in, she said. He says you're a snitch. I just filed my taxes correctly, I said. If he had done the same, he'd be fine. I hung up the phone. I looked at the sticky enter key on my laptop. I finally had the money to fix it, but I decided not to. I kept it broken. Every time I have to press it twice, it reminds me of the day I pressed it and started a war. Derek wanted to win. He wanted to beat me at 12:01 a.m. He wanted the quick cash. He thought he was playing checkers against a helpless single mom. He forgot the first rule of dealing with a woman who has nothing left to lose: we keep receipts. All of them. We document everything. And he forgot the first rule of being an American citizen: you can cheat your wife, you can cheat your friends, but you never, ever cheat the tax man. So, tell me. Am I the monster for unleashing the federal government on my ex-husband and ruining his financial life? Or did he audit himself the moment he tried to steal from his own child?
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.